Landlords, brace yourselves for impact. The new Renters' Rights Bill is here, and it brings huge changes which will impact your bottom line. Rent increases, evictions, tenant protections are all evolving, they're all changing. Here's what you need to know to keep ahead. There are a lot of changes right now. To keep up to date, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. We put out 3 videos each and every week, all dedicated to keeping you on top of your property investing game. So subscribe right now. The first thing I'll say is this is called the Renters' Rights Bill. When the Conservatives were in power, they called it the Renters' Reform Bill. And Renters' Reform Bill implied a little bit of fairness, a little bit of balance. Renters' Rights Bill doesn't really imply any balance in the title, does it? The key thing that's happened is that there are no more fixed-term tenancies. All tenancies are periodic by nature. In other words, they're rolling tenancies. So once a tenant signs the agreement, they're in there for as long as they like, pretty much. So you have to wait until the tenant decides to go, or if you want to serve notice on the tenant, you can only do so on specific grounds. One of those grounds is, of course, rent arrears. Now, under the old system, there had to be 8 weeks worth of rent arrears. Now, there has to be 13 weeks worth of rent arrears. And this is very, very odd because it's 13 weeks worth of rent arrears at the time that it goes to a court hearing. So if one day before the court hearing, the tenant decides to pay a week's worth of rent, then they're technically not 13 weeks in arrears and the clock restarts. This can massively frustrate landlords, and they then have to find another ground to rely on to get possession of the property. So there is no Section 21, no fault grounds to get possession of the property back, or there is no end of tenancy, the fixed term period to rely on where the tenancy naturally ends. You have nothing like that. You've only got things like antisocial behaviour, which is notoriously hard to prove. So Section 21s will be abolished, but that will be from the time this bill passes into law. So all Section 21s issued before that date will continue to be valid. Now, with rent increases, you can raise rents once a year, as you can do at the moment. You have to give 2 months' notice when you want to raise the rent, and of course you can do so annually. But the tenants will have a right to challenge these rent increases at a tribunal, and this may delay or block those rent increases altogether. One of the problems I see with this is that if a tenant challenges a rent increase and it takes a few months before it gets to tribunal, any increase in rent will be applicable from that tribunal decision, not from the time the rent increase was meant to be effected. Tenants have the right to keep a pet, and a landlord cannot unreasonably refuse a tenant's request. Landlords can require the tenant to have pet insurance, which is, I guess, but you need to respond to a tenant's request to keep a pet within 28 days. Okay, there's going to be a decent home standard test where properties must meet certain standards. Landlords, I don't know what those standards are yet, but landlords can face fines of up to £7,000 if these standards are not met. There's going to be some sort of database where landlords can keep track of their properties and records. So I guess that'll be a repository for things like safety certificates and tenancy deposit certificates and stuff like that, to make sure that EPCs, to make sure that all of that is compliant. It will be illegal for landlords to discriminate or refuse tenants because they're claiming benefits or have children. A new landlord ombudsman will be created as a new body to adjudicate disputes between tenants and landlords. So there was a lot of talk in the run-up to this Renters' Rights Bill about what happens if the landlord wants to get the property back because they simply want to sell. So a new ground has been introduced for gaining possession, where basically if the landlord needs to sell, they can invoke this ground. And this is if they want to sell the property, or a member of the landlord's family or the landlord themselves wishes to move into the property. Now, the landlord won't be able to use this ground in the first 12 months of the tenancy, and then it will require 4 months' notice to be given to the tenant. There's going to be a ban on rental bidding wars, which has been a real factor of the fact that there aren't enough rental properties around, in that agents and landlords basically get people to compete in some kind of auction, if you like, where the rental property goes to the highest bidder. Those sort of things are going to be outlawed. So that's pretty much it for this video. That summarizes what you need to know in the new Renters' Rights Bill. For more updates on how this all pans out, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. What do you think about the changes? Do you think it redresses the balance, or do you think the balance is too far on the tenant side? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button and share this video with other landlords so that they know what these important changes are and what they need to do to keep ahead. See you guys next time. The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers, and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.